Big dog, coming through. Always on time,
This video is kind of a response to the Low Post video, which is aka The Legend of Winning. Shout out to him. Been watching his channel for a long time. But he made a video talking about the embarrassment of the Eastern Conference compared to the Western Conference, which I didn't disagree, and I don't think he's completely wrong, but I think there's other factors and reasons outside of the game and teams themselves. I just think overall the league is constructed weird in itself. Obviously, there's an East and there's a West. Now look at this map. Just ponder on this for a second. Now I know the NBA is not based off geography, and it's not how the teams were brought into the association. But obviously, there's a clear confusion on what teams should be in the East and what teams should be on the West. This is a more accurate depiction if we were to draw a line down the middle of America, meaning that currently 3 of the teams in the NBA are technically in the wrong conference. Those teams being the Minnesota Timberwolves, the New Orleans Pelicans, the Memphis Grizzlies. But there's a reason for all this. Prior to the 1989 season, there were only 25 NBA teams, with the Minnesota Timberwolves and Orlando Magic joining the NBA in the beginning of the 89 season, making it 27. They were the newest expansion teams. Due to the 2 teams being added, in order to maintain order, they placed the Minnesota Timberwolves in the Western Conference and placed the Orlando Magic in the Eastern Conference, even though Minnesota is technically in the Midwest and closer to cities like Chicago and Milwaukee. The next team is the Memphis Grizzlies. The Grizzlies were originally in Vancouver. They joined the NBA in 1995, and at that time, their placement in the Western Conference made sense. But due to low ratings, low ticket sales, and just low fan interest in Vancouver, they eventually relocated to Memphis, Tennessee in 2001. They stayed in the West, even though it's further east than Chicago, Detroit, and even Atlanta. After the NBA got rid of Vancouver, they then turned around and moved another team in Canada and just moved it further east to Toronto, resulting in that team, the Toronto Raptors, being in the Eastern Conference and Memphis staying in the West. Again, this was to avoid disturbing the league's conference balances. The third team was the New Orleans Pelicans. This team originally began as the Charlotte Hornets in 1988, playing in the Eastern Conference. After relocating to New Orleans in 2002, they began the New Orleans Hornets. In 2004, the NBA added the Charlotte Bobcats as a new franchise. Rather than to move the New Orleans Hornets back to the East, the league left them in the Western Conference to keep the NBA teams balanced in the conferences. Today, the franchise is known as the New Orleans Pelicans, and it still remains in the West. All 3 of these teams should technically be in the East if we were to revert back to the map that I showed previously. Geography essentially took a backseat to the balance of the NBA, and I'm not saying it was super important, but I think it plays a factor. My next point I wanted to bring up: many Western Conference teams in major markets are located in southern and warmer climate areas, such as California, Texas, Arizona. These cities offer players better weather, entertainment, tax benefits, and different lifestyles that appeal to most athletes. The NBA is different from the past. Due to the marketability of social media, different social platforms like YouTube, podcasting, businesses, acting, overall, players are looking for the opportunity to have marketability even after their careers are done and it's time for them to retire. So a lot of the times, these southern areas, even in the map I'm showing you right now, they just have more opportunities for these players during the career and even post-career. We see that even now with Jimmy Butler. He was in Miami, but as soon as he got to California and played for Golden State, his first Cheez-It commercial that is everywhere now that you see started March 31st. And it's been a major commercial. You see him in everything now. And I'm not saying that he wasn't in commercials back in Miami, but definitely will say with him being in California, he has more opportunities to create wealth for him after he retires and after he finishes his career. And I think the same thing is kind of going to happen with Chris Paul. Since he's back with the Clippers, I think you're kind of going to see more State Farm commercials with the Cliff Paul again, or Lob City Clippers, or I feel like he's going to be in some type of commercial that they're going to put him back in, just since he's closer back to the LA area and he's just kind of going back and this is his final season. I know it's going to be something coming out this year. But I think when we looked in contrast to the Eastern Conference, it's dominated in colder northern cities. many of those cities are really not attractive to athletes. You got the Midwest, then you got teams further out east like Boston, New York, Philly, and then you got teams in the South like Miami, Atlanta, and those are really the only big market teams that really make up a lot of the interest that is in the Eastern Conference. Unless a player is really intrigued or really a die-hard person for their city that wants to play in a Cleveland or a Detroit or Chicago or Indiana, majority of the times those players are going to seek out a better opportunity by going to the Western Conferences. And I think that factor impacts the fan engagement, the attendance, and then also player desirability. There are more opportunities in Western Conference teams because the locations are just more prominent in America. So it causes teams to overspend, especially in the East, because they know they don't really have any leverage to contend with those Western markets. So you have teams like the Wizards who overpay for Bradley Beal. You have teams like the Bucks who have to pay Giannis a lot to keep him and keep him happy. Or the 76ers who have to overpay, even though Joel Embiid is always hurt, but always has to pay him because he's essentially a top talent in the league and they're trying to keep him in the East. Another side factor that I think is sometimes overlooked in this discussion is the eastern side of the map of the United States is more football dominated than basketball dominated. Now, don't get me wrong, football is a popular sport all around America, but football in the Midwest and South have a different energy all the way from high school to the pros. This graph shows each state's most popular sport. Obviously, there are some questionable ones in here like New York and Chicago, because I definitely think those are more basketball cities than what they have on this map. But this map overwhelmingly has a lot of blue and red towards the eastern side of it. Those states having the biggest die-hard college and pro football fan bases. States like Ohio, Georgia, Florida, Alabama, Michigan, etc. Not to discredit any of those big football states out in the West like California, Texas, Oregon, but the intensity compared on the east side of the states compared to the West, I believe is just different. Midwest football, Southern football, East football, I just think it has a different feel to it compared to football when you compare it to some of those other states outside of the big ones out West. A lot of the hustle and bustle, Rust Belt, Southern charm places are really not an ideal place for most modern NBA players, and stars that are looking for opportunities are almost every chance they can get. The next point I want to bring up is there are always expansion opportunities. Adam Silver even said it himself.
Expansion teams, man, how you feel about that?
You know, it's something we're going to look at.
Okay.
There's so many great markets out there that love the NBA. It's something we're definitely going to look at.
Okay, for sure.
Most definitely.
Yes. Hi.
Hello.
Now, he said Seattle. We were just trying to figure out like what cities would be good to bring a new
I
team
think,
to.
obviously, they do the summer league in Vegas, so
Yeah.
it's equipped for NBA basketball. So I know Vegas would probably be a cool spot. Like he said, Seattle had a team already.
You know, it's interesting. I mean, we had a team in Seattle before. It's such an incredible market.
For sure.
Many of my years at the NBA were spent when we still had a team in Seattle. There's no doubt about the love for basketball there. And Vegas, you just mentioned where we have our summer league. I feel like we have a team there.
Yeah,
because, you know, the 2 weeks or so that summer league goes, it literally like it consumes the whole basketball world. Those games, when we first started playing the summer league there, those games were hardly even on television.
Yeah.
Now, Sports Center's operating out of Las Vegas, studio shows there. So, like, I feel like we already have a huge presence in Las Vegas.
Maybe this opens up the room for more expansion teams like the Seattle Supersonics to make a return. Maybe it's a team in Missouri that they want to add in Kansas City. Or maybe it's a team in Hawaii that they just kind of want to throw out there and test the waters. I'm not really sure what the NBA's move is. I know that Adam Silver doesn't seem like he's going to be making a team in Las Vegas. But overall, there's other markets, and I think there's other reconstruction that could happen to where we can balance the league a little more. And maybe after these teams come in, the leagues will look a little different. Maybe they put the Minnesota Timberwolves back in the East or the Memphis Grizzlies in the East. It just depends on really what the system or way they want to construct it. But I really think that there's opportunity for growth and there's opportunity for reconstruction here. And at the end of the day, like I said earlier in the video, I don't disagree with Lo. The NBA could kind of go off the NFL system if you wanted to, make an AFC and an NFC division, whereas you split the teams instead of doing East and West, you just kind of divide them up and break them up individually and have them throughout, kind of like the NFL, like I mentioned. But there's always opportunities in the future to see what the NBA is going to do and how they want to construct the league, because I think currently at the moment in the NBA, it's not the highest rated. I think we've seen some better ratings in the last couple of years. I think some people are getting more interested just in the little changes that they've made. But I think that Adam Silver is really planning to change the NBA and kind of structure it a lot different. So the next decade or even 20 years of the NBA is going to look completely different. And I think it's going to shape the next generation of basketball. And this is going to really be interesting on what is going to be in store as we're watching, even as fans. That's what makes sports so fun, obviously. And the last point I want to bring up is the Eastern Conference is often seen as the weaker side of the league, but that can change. Remember, it's sports. Anything can happen. Underdog teams can rise, markets can shift, narratives can change. Hell, we can see the 76ers with VJ Edgecombe and Jared McCain go off, and they restructure their whole team around that young core and having Tyrese be the veteran young star on that team and really see a different side of the 76ers. We could see a new level Jaylen Brown with the Celtics as Jason Tatum is out with his injury. Maybe Jaylen Brown takes this crazy new step and really just shows that he can lead a team by himself. You just never know. Maybe the Pistons with Cade Cunningham and Jaden Ivey coming back from his injury, they can both take a step and really show that the Pistons are a dominant team in the East. And then, hell, MPJ, I'm going to just throw this out there as a random one. MPJ can really show that he a number one star on the Nets if he just want to take and chuck as many shots as he want to, because it don't seem like they're looking to contend or be anything serious in the next couple of years as they're still rebuilding. So maybe he is that piece that just really needs to take that next step in a market that he can lead in. All of these are hypotheticals, obviously, but that's the beauty of sports at the end of the day. You never know what's in store for next season. So I definitely partially agree with Lowe's video, but in this video, I just kind of wanted to bring those other factors in that people may be overlooking to why the NBA is constructed this way, why it looks this way, why the East may have some of these discrepancies, and just give a new take to and give a new perspective that maybe people just never kind of took a look into. But give me your thoughts, comments, and opinions down below. Thanks for watching. Appreciate y'all, and I'll catch y'all in the next video. Peace.